So welcome, Olu. We so appreciate your consistent visionary leadership, our beloved sister. And as always, at Setsi, we begin all things by acknowledging our creator. We acknowledge all the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So Olu, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers and share a bit about your remarkable work?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Victor, for having me on this call today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. My name is Olutoyin Oyelade, and I am the founder of Casa Foundation for International Development, a nonprofit organization that focuses on the empowerment of women, youth, and entrepreneurs in our community. And this is what we've done since I got into Canada for almost 13 years now, Casa Foundation managing that. But as a nonprofit, we focus on women, youth, and entrepreneurs. And that's been the major goal to looking forward to empowering women, bringing about emancipation, introducing them and connecting them, and all of that, making sure that we offer them training, resources, and all that they require for mentorship, partnership, and sponsorship. And so bringing about those resources to our women folk, that's been our major focus at Casa Foundation in the last 13 years. And in the for-profit side, because that's my background, I was vice president of Intercontinental Bank, one of the foremost banks in Africa way back, up until 2011. And as vice president, I managed the treasury, I was group treasurer and so on. And so, of course, when I got into Canada, I also wanted to set up a fund, in line with my treasury role. And so we started InVcap Corporation. And InVcap Corporation is one of those private funds that offers advisory services, raises capital for women also, and of course, other entrepreneurs. And so those have been my major focal areas in the last 12 years. And I have a robust community ecosystem of support like yourselves, that have actually been very supportive in the work that we do. It's really been very enlightening, insightful, managing ecosystem partners and making sure that we deliver on the goals that we set for ourselves. So that's who I am.
That's incredible. Your work as a fund manager in Africa, supporting leaders, but not only that, to transition that work to begin to support entrepreneurs across Canada with such vigor and vigilance has been truly inspiring to watch. So that's a perfect segue to my next question. What's inspiring you right now in your work?
That's a great question. Inspiration actually for me comes from, there's a part where you set goals and objectives for yourself. And so you're looking to serve that ecosystem of women, youth, entrepreneurs. But the inspiration actually now comes from that other level of it, comes from hearing them, their needs, their challenges, and some of the issues they're faced with on a daily basis. And so the inspiration then comes from the solutions that we see that's available to this group of people. And so when we talk about that inspiration, it's now seeing the kind of resources that we've been able to make available to these women and how they actually been able to build up their own businesses, scale up their own businesses. Some are at the startup stage, the ideation stage, various stages of businesses, but then they've made it work. The fact that a lot of the groups that we deal with, I would say about 70% Black groups, people from the Black community and so on, very little meager resources, but making it work. That's an inspiration to me. The fact that you can actually, so one of our programs would be the Women Inspire that offers pitch grants, grants to women, sometimes $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, but you visit them and you see what they have built with very little resources. That's an inspiration to me in our community. What it tells me is that we have all that it takes to make things work, and that even when there appears to be nothing, we can actually create from out of nothing, seemingly, particularly when during the pandemic, when we realized, because it was one of the times when we redesigned some of our programs and started offering the pitch programs at another level to some of these women, because as you remember, we were, the community, our particular group was more disproportionately affected by the impact of the pandemic. And so people actually kind of put on their thinking caps again, particularly the women that we dealt with at that time. And they created some new businesses, ideas that nobody could ever think of that they would work. And they started. And with the funding that they received, they were able to build their businesses. Some of them have now opened new branches, expanded, and are looking for partnerships. Some of them, from the 5,000 grants, they're actually looking for loans of 50,000, 100,000 to build. That's our inspiration. And that gives us the impetus to actually want to continue this and even scale it up again to other provinces in Canada that we are not present yet. And so for us, that's an inspiration. And then, of course, one other thing that I would say also is the kind of mentors that we have. The people that we never met before who heard about the work that we do, and they're eager to support the work that we do. The people that are coming to us on a daily basis, I'm talking about institutions, some of the academic institutions, and so on, that we met through, some connections in the ecosystem. And they're asking questions about what we do now and how they can support. That's inspiring for us, because it also tells us that it's not all the time that you need to have all the connections or know everyone. The clout is important, but sometimes your work speaks better for you than the clout, the networks of people that you think you know. And that's important for us. Thank you.
Ashe, amen, amen. I couldn't agree more. And I witnessed your pitch sessions in the ecosystem, the vibrant ecosystem that you've built of entrepreneurs and providing resources and opportunities and sponsors. So it is truly remarkable what you've been able to accomplish. And once again, it's a testament to your leadership, your visionary leadership, your tenacity, and your consistency in this ecosystem. So once again, I applaud you. So my next question is, what challenges and barriers do you face in your work, and how are you and your team working to overcome them?
Right, challenges. Well, of course, a lot of them are well known. Within our community, you talk about the isms, they're still there all over, some of those other issues that we deal with, the gaps, major gaps and issues that you have to deal with on a daily basis, issues of tokenism, more importantly for women. When you've built a business, half of the time people ask you, you're still trying to get connections, or you're trying to get clients, to work with you, to buy from you, and so on. And, there are a lot of stories and research about this, as you might well know, but it's still there. People prefer to buy from their male counterparts. And that's just the truth. People prefer to mentor their male counterparts. Males actually have better access to mentors than females. One, because they're able to go out. I guess, you're able to interact easily. You can go out till, say, 1 a.m., middle of the night, and interact effectively. The people that you interact with on a regular basis are the people you get to promote, regularly. And that's because there's a connection. The people that you don't see and you don't have that high level of interaction with regularly, it's usually difficult for you to really promote them, because they're bogged down with a lot of domestic issues back at home and so on, with children, partners, spouses, and so on. So women carry a lot on their shoulders. These are some of the things we see. It's been there for a long time. The expectation, though, is that, as we advance digitally and so on, and people get more opportunities to e-commerce, they're doing their own businesses, they become employers of labor, they're paying taxes, so they gain more respect, right? And that's what we expect. And then they serve on boards and so on. But we see that is not happening at the same rate. These are challenges that we see. People will still rather bring men to their boards. And some women would rather have males as their mentors rather than women, because there's, I guess, there are a few other issues and challenges within the women folk, as I'm sure we also have in that space of male folks too. But I think it's more pronounced when you talk about women. And so that's what I mean by the tokenism part. So you find a situation where people just put one person just for you to have a semblance of diversity and gender diversity on your board and so on. This is still an issue that we're dealing with. The fact that also, as we speak, when you talk about CEOs, women, and so on, the number or the percentage is still very low. How many women are becoming CEOs? So people are taking, companies, organizations, institutions are making the deliberate effort to bring women on board, to make sure that they are represented. But within the women, when you talk about the women entrepreneurship space, how are women themselves encouraging other women? And I think that's, for me, is the issue. So that even if if they don't call us, call yourselves, we're together. And so let's collaborate and let's support ourselves. The collaboration is a key issue. There's a gap in collaboration, and women need to be on top of that. We must be at the forefront, at the driver's seat of making it happen for ourselves. And I'm even speaking generally, BIPOC community, general women community, make it happen for ourselves. It is important. And so as Casa Foundation, one of the ways we have dealt with that, and that we're dealing with that, I wouldn't say we're 100% on it. One of the ways we're dealing with that is to ensure that it's not just a quota system. It's that we deliberately and intentionally hire women. And so we have like 85% women. Of course, we have 15% men. But of course, on the fund part, we have men and we have women. So we'd say 50-50. But in the nonprofit side is 85% women, run, led, at management level. That's what we've done. And that way you understand your constituents, the target market. You remember, again, we deal with women, youth, and entrepreneurs. And so you understand them. You really can't solve problems that you don't understand anyway. But so when you are one of them, you understand the emotions. You understand the challenges that they're faced with from time to time. You understand their propensities. When they say yes, when they really mean yes, or they don't mean yes, and so on. And when they come in late, and it's like, of course, we don't excuse indiscipline. But then there are some of those days that it just happens, and you need to deal with those issues. And they give you their best, if they understand that you have their best interest at heart. And this is how we deal with the people we work with on one hand, and it helps us again to be able to deal with our constituents, our target market, the women, and the people that we manage on a daily basis. The challenges are there, but they are not unmitigatable. What I've realized is that the more people believe that you've got their back, the better they respond, the more productive they are. Whether it's in business and whether it's at the workplace. And that's the approach we bring to the table: collaboration, and then encouraging them and motivating them even to better performance. We've seen now that a lot of our programs, because of the way we deal and manage our constituents, a lot of our programs, the current candidates are the ones that actually attract more people into the other programs that we manage. So at no time are we ever short of candidates at any program, whether it's a PMP or the Women Inspire or the Casa Foundation, Friends of Africa, and all the other ones. So, just to add to that in. Thank you.
No, that's very helpful. And I couldn't agree more in terms of tokenism and some of the performative practices or the veneer of representation and virtue signaling that manifests in many ecosystems, especially when it comes to various demographics. So I couldn't agree more. And it's remarkable that you made the point that these things can be mitigated and some practical ways to mitigate some of these things. So once again, I applaud your leadership. So my next question is, do you have a set of key priorities right now in your work?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I mentioned, it's been women, youth, and entrepreneurs. However, we find that we also have a large group of indigenous groups, and that we need to we are beginning to focus on them. And one of the reasons we're doing that is because, as you know, we are privileged to be one of the partners managing the Black Entrepreneurship Program, the fund itself, and we have a national mandate. And so that took us into spaces outside of our regular comfort zone. And so seeing their approach, meeting with these groups of people has actually opened new doors, not only for us to have an understanding of their challenges, the opportunities, and some of the value they bring to the table. Everybody's got a value to bring to the table. Nobody must be excluded from the table. And so we find that groups of these types of women that we never dealt with before now becomes an opportunity for us to serve them and to prioritize them in planning in the next 5 years, actually. And so now the plan is for us to have a specific program for BIPOC groups of women from the indigenous community rather, and then to have a plan for their growth in terms of access to financing, access to mentorship. A lot of them I wouldn't just generally say they are not entrepreneurs or they're not known to be entrepreneurs. I would just say that there's a huge gap in building entrepreneurs and encouraging and supporting entrepreneurs within that demographic. So that's our focus in the next 5 years. So it's one of them. The other part also is the youth community, young girls. So you'd notice for some reason, there is a lot of effort that's been concerted on the 17. When you talk about young people, you talk about young adults, 18 to 30. People are not talking about the 10 to 17, the formative years, which is so important. And it's so important and pivotal to the development of your journey, who you become professionally or even in the business world. And so that becomes another priority for us. Having dealt with women or having managed women for this long or this many years, we believe that we should be able to do that, because not the same principles apply, but there will just be a few things that you need to tweak here and there to ensure that it meets their needs. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing with the young girls and the indigenous women that we're beginning to prioritize. Now we're looking for partnerships, in those regions that we're going to be targeting in the next 5 years. And we'll be reaching out to as many people as are interested in partnering with us. Keep in mind again, that when we talk about these young women, we're talking about mentorship for them. They already have some minimum level of mentorship, but how do you match people so that they know that consistently they have a go-to person, somebody that actually is a role model? Not just everybody is important, but you want people to aspire. So you have a vice president, you have a senior manager in the banking sector or, in one of the critical sectors, and you match young girls with them. It doesn't have to be every month, it could be a quarter and so on. These are the kind of programs that we'll now begin to offer, and including the indigenous women too, entrepreneurs, notable entrepreneurs. You want to learn from them. How did they get here? What was the journey like? How did they get their initial resources? If it was doable, or if it is doable with these people, then I can actually aspire to become like them. It might take donkey years to get to that level, but at least let's get them started. And so that's what the program is about. And we'll be launching that in the first quarter of 2024. These are priorities for us. And we believe that some other ecosystem partners will be able to come on board with us to do this.
Ashe, I couldn't agree more. And there's so much happening in terms of leadership in the indigenous community. When I think about Caroline Hilton in Indigenomics, or Jocelyn Forsman, Shadi Hafez at NAFC, or Jeff Sear and Wahi at Raven Indigenous Capital, or Sarah Wolf, or Janine Manning, or Shannon and Sarah McNeil at NACA. The list goes on and on and on. Or Shira and her husband. So there's so many folks doing some remarkable work. And I think definitely there's an opportunity to move beyond solidarity and find ways it means to collaborate, partner, and bolster all entrepreneurs that are doing remarkable things in our community. So I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for your leadership and diligence around all this work. And always let me know if there's any way I can support, contribute, or help. So my next question is, how do you feel about the future of entrepreneurship and community economic development in Canada?
That's a big one. I think the future for us, I call myself an entrepreneur, as you well know yourself too. The future for us is bright, and the sky cannot even be a limit. The reason I say that is we have been hard hit by the impact of the pandemic and so on. However, from research, from my understanding and my interaction with the entrepreneurship community, the ones I meet in class, the one I meet on a daily basis, the ones from the ecosystems that I support, I think in the history of entrepreneurship, this is actually one of the times that you have had so many people coming up with great ideas within a short span of time. For me, I think that's important, and that's critical for us to note as part of as part of the foundation for the future. So the future is very bright for us. People are coming up with various ideas on a daily basis. This is the age where inventions are coming up and innovations, things that we thought people did so well before, and other people are now coming back to tell us, you can actually do it in a better way. And so you look at some of these examples around us from how we've turned around what you now call the co-working space and matching that, growing the incubators, the accelerators, and so on, where you talk about real estate, such that entrepreneurs are actually at the forefront of this now, that the big institutions are looking to sell down and save some cost on their balance sheet, on the cost of the huge properties that they are keeping on their balance sheet, and coming the way of entrepreneurs managing incubators and accelerators so that their staff members, their employees are able to benefit from the resources, the collaboration you talked about, the mentorship, and so on, by keeping them in incubators. This is one area that I am very familiar with, and I've seen a lot of people doing a lot of business in this area. When you talk about, there's no small entrepreneur. Some people are into PCs, whatever it is that you're doing, people are expanding. We're in the digital age now, where people are able to reach other continents, China, Asia, China, India, and so on. And people are expanding their business networks, buying and selling across continents. This is important. We had the opportunity, we didn't know how to leverage it before now. Leveraging it came by way of the pandemic, because then everybody had to think outside the box. Whether you're at the edge of the box or inside the box, you just need to step out of it and begin to think about how things would work. And so I believe that this age brings about huge opportunities for us. It has its own challenges when you talk about the resources. So how are you going to grow if you don't have the capital, if you don't have the partners in China or India? How are you going to get there? But the fact remains, e-commerce solves that for us. So digital tech has really resolved a lot of issues for us. The future is very bright for us. In terms of capital funding, economically, if you look at Canada itself, look at the volume of funding that has been made available to women, to Black entrepreneurs, to women entrepreneurs, and so many other groups of people. For me, that's a huge leap. And I believe that people should take a leap of faith, leveraging those funds. We have our FACE coalition offering funding to Black entrepreneurs. We have the Women Loan Fund offered by the federal government of Canada to women entrepreneurs, generally speaking. We have even, maybe smaller entities, or you'd say growing entities like ourselves, the Casa Foundation, the BBPA, Black Business Professional Association of Canada. You have the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, managed under the Toronto Metropolitan University, coming together to form what you call the Rise Up Pitch. The Rise Up Pitch, which pays $10,000 in grants to Black women, and several others like that. And the one that Casa Foundation itself does, the Pitch Masters, and all of these funds made available to women or to youth, whether you're Black or whether you're any color. So all of these are huge opportunities for us to grow. It was there before, but we didn't have this many. So it's a plethora of funds, it's a basket of funds. And what this does for us is that it helps us to think outside the box. And it tells us that if we do have an idea, it's either we're looking for partners, we're looking for funding, people to collaborate, but it can be done. You shouldn't go to sleep. It can be done. And so the time is now for us to get it done.
The time is always now, and I agree in the 3 R's: relationships, resources, and reciprocity. And clearly you have, through Pitch Masters and your work, you've mastered that. And you've always been such a remarkable ally, accomplice, and partner in this phenomenal work. So this is my second last question for you. What is your ultimate goal, and what does success look like and feel like to you and your colleagues?
Absolutely. Thank you. That's a great question. I think for us, success is impact. How many lives have you touched? And how quickly are you touching them? Because you can't wait for people to pass out, to pass out before you touch them. So it's important that you touch people quickly. This is really important for us. The need is there. It's a dire need for resources. And when I talk about resources, again, of course, there are many. The list is inexhaustive, but the fact remains that You focus on mentorship, you focus on partnership, you focus on sponsorship. Those are the three ethos of Casa Foundation. Mentorship, that trifold approach is what we adopt in all the services we offer to community: mentorship, partnership, sponsorship. And so success for us is how many people are able to get this from us. That's our impact. And what are they able to build with it? This is so important. And seeing so many more women around the table. This is success for us. So you walk into the room. I know a lot of people say, oh, I walked into the room and I was the only black face. So don't say that anymore. Make sure you let someone come with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tag someone along with you. Don't be the only person in that room. So let's stop saying, oh, I was the only person at the table. No, there are so many people who need to be at that table. Make them come. Put them as advisors on your board, advisory board. Let them work as volunteers. You don't have to pay them. That becomes a benchmark for them. And I'm not saying just pick any random person. Test them, put them in training, mentor them for a bit, and bring them to the table. At the end of the day, that becomes a benchmark. Once you put them on that table, they see that it's doable. The next time they're looking for a volunteer role, they look for it in both places. This is important for them. And it also, it helps them step up, like we say, step up in the community. And so they become people like role models that people begin to look up to them. And before you know it, you give one woman an opportunity. She brings 100 women along the road. This is important because women are multipliers. And I'm not just saying that it's not cliche, they are multipliers. Everything they do from, the way God made them, they are expected to be multipliers. They produce, you know what I mean? And so you trust them with one, they multiply that. This is important for us to understand. It's not about competition. It's actually it's not the competitive advantage that we keep talking about. The competitive advantage part is there. It's not a competition. We need to complement ourselves. Collaborate to complement ourselves, because what you have, the other person might not have it. And you need to understand your value, that value that you bring to the table. What's your sweet spot? What exactly are you looking to achieve? And find other people who will help you plug your own gaps, because everyone has got a gap. And there's another woman out there that knows exactly what you don't know. And you need to bring that person on board with you. 3 heads are better than one, they usually say. It's important for you to have those 3 at the table. Thank you.
Ashe, I couldn't agree more. It's not a competition. We need to be complementary. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So my last question, do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action for our listeners and our viewers?
Absolutely. I think I would, I've talked about everyone has a value. They bring that to the table. I think I'll talk about intersectionality. There are several, as you know. And so anytime we walk into a room, I think it's important for us to try and figure out what intersectionality, where am I now? What exactly is going on in this room? Is it a black room? Is it a gender thing? Is it black and gender? Is it both? Is it professional? Is it entrepreneurship? And how do you stand out in that room? Meaning, how do you connect despite the intersectionalities that you're dealing with and so on in that room? So it's important that we understand it, and it's also important that we navigate it. We navigate it so we can leave an impact. What makes people come back to you? The fact that you're able to walk up to anyone in the room, not by bold-facing, but by being respectful and making sure that they understand the solutions that you bring to the table. Introduce yourself wherever you are. Don't sit back and say, we're not so good at networking, as we usually tell ourselves. If you're an entrepreneur, you need to network, otherwise you won't sell. So understand the intersectionalities and deal with them, navigate them, smile. Somebody doesn't respond well, go to the next person. And I just wanted to say that because I deal in those spaces where people are not able to network and say, oh, it's not our thing, Dr. Olu. I say, it's our thing. We've got to make it our thing so we can sell. Thank you.
No, thank you, Dr. Olu, for all that you do. Indeed, your network is your net worth, and more importantly, and most importantly, the way we steward and cultivate relationships speaks to our character, speaks to our lived experience, speaks to our social location, speaks to our trajectory in terms of our work, and ultimately speaks to our impact. So I appreciate you for all that you do for so many, and just thank you for your time, your authenticity, your tenacity, and once again, your visionary leadership. And we'll close this interview the way we began, by acknowledging our creator, by acknowledging all our ancestors, by acknowledging the original stewards of various lands we're on. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Thank you so much, Dr. Olu. I so appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Victor. I really appreciate you, and thank you for the privilege of coming on your show tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.